Good evening, Bulavinaka and Namaste. This week we are back at the Inspire Pacific Village here in Nadroga, where we continue to tell the stories about this program, the Tanganay program, and the holistic point of view of the program as they aim to inspire young men, boys who may be neglected or abandoned and may have lost hope in life, where this group of young men in their 20s and 30s have set up this amazing program, third year running, and they definitely require a lot of support, founded by Inspire Pacific's Executive Director, Ben Morrison. And tonight we will be talking, apart from Ben, we'll be talking to Richard Dier, who is the coordinator of the Inspire Pacific Village. Richard, what an inspiring story for everybody. I know it takes a lot. You're just in your late 30s and you have decided to give your life for this kind of cause. What has made you choose this?
I think for me, just growing up back at the village and seeing the hunger and seeing stuff that I've been through, challenges in life that I face, that that motivates me to really step out and help the young people that needs help. For me, growing up, I sometimes really struggle as a young boy growing up with what these young boys are struggling with. So right now, I just want to be able to really step out and be able to help them and direct them not to go in the path that I've already been through.
Richard, I believe that you started off your journey in working with young boys through the Juvenile Center. How did that come about? And if you can tell the people about the story where you eventually decided to work with these young boys who were troubled with the law.
So basically, we used to do a juvenile ministry a couple of years ago with my family, and we kind of stepped out in while we were doing the juvenile ministry. We just had this passion to help young people that's in need. So we helped out at the Juvenile Center through the church, and then we kind of stepped out to the streets as well. Cook a big pot of food and take it down to the street and just sing songs and gather people around, young people, old people, and just get to feed them without paying any money for food. So that's basically where the passion really got stirred up, and yeah.
And then you've ended up being the coordinator of the Inspire Pacific Village here. That requires a lot of work, and I'm sure people are interested in these at-risk boys or young men who end up in your care. First of all, if you can tell us how they are recruited to be part of the program.
So in order to be part of the program, we take on boys that's willing to change. So the boys' parents, they bring their children, or we go out to the streets and we recruit the boys. But what we tell them is, we don't want to force you to come into the program. It's a free will. If you want to change, then you're welcome, most welcome to join the program. So that's how we be able to recruit boys into the Inspire program.
So when you're saying that, and we had this discussion before about parents approaching you because they have lost hope in trying to get the best out of their child. You've had cases of that where parents are reaching out to you where there's no other help available?
Yes, we have a couple of parents come up to the space, into the office, and just bring in the child that they can't basically handle. Maybe it's too much for them to handle. And then they come and then they ask us to, if we want to be able to recruit our kids to go through the program. So we take those children on, and then we kind of go through some assessments, and then they're into the program.
Richard, no doubt we've seen the emergence of hard drugs, young people using hard drugs and getting addicted to it. You did share stories about some people who were deep into drugs also reaching out to you when you were on the streets. If you can share with our viewers and listeners, please.
Yeah, there was this before the camp where we were still doing recruiting. There was a couple of boys that were on the street where we went and reached out to while we were recruiting, and then what we were doing, we were just sharing the word, giving them opportunities, but not bringing them in, but just sharing opportunities if they want to change. We are here to help them. So we were sharing with a couple of boys. There was this little boy that was just laying down.
Not in the discussion with you.
Yes, he wasn't in the discussion with me. We were talking to a couple of other boys, and he was just laying down. But as we were sharing, he was hearing the conversation that was happening. And then when we gave them the opportunity to, okay, if you guys want, you guys can come with us. But if you don't, then it's okay. We'll check on you every now and then if you might want to change your mind, if you want to come into the program. But the moment we ready to turn our back, this boy got up. And then when he got up, he said that, I want to go. And then we asked him, are you sure you want to go? And then he said, ever since last night, he was just thinking, if he gets another opportunity, he will take it. So that was the opportunity that he had, that he took on.
And this is the boy who was addicted to methamphetamine?
And this is the boy that was addicted to methamphetamine.
Now the Tanganay program, it is a 14 weeks program that you run here. What does this entail, the 6 weeks where they come to camp? I believe there's a process that even the parents go through with their children here in terms of identifying the love and care and kindness that truly is very important for any human being.
I think really with these boys here in camp is really trying to build a really close relationship with them, stuff that they don't find from home, maybe because they're not heard. But here is more like really building that safe space where they could really come up to us and speak to us of something that they are facing or something that they are struggling with. And then without judgment, we are there for them, and we see in ways that we could really help them.
What about the washing of the feet process that the fathers and the sons go through?
I think on the second week, we did the washing of the feet. The washing of the feet was really, it was really powerful to see everything that happened in the washing of the feet, because some of the boys really don't have a really close relationship with the dad. And the washing of the feet, one thing that we really noticed was boys are just really breaking down in tears, and some of them are hugging their dad for the first time. And even be able to see that means really a lot, to see a boy getting a first hug from his dad, and just the dad affirming the child of things that he don't normally do. And that's what we see in the second week. We really see boys like really getting to know their dad more.
Process, I see you've got, before we came, of course, we saw the Ministry of Agriculture involved in talking to the boys. What are the different aspects that you look at when they are in camp?
So basically in camp, what we do is we try to find things that we get them engaged in. So today there was the Ministry of Agriculture where most of them would really love to do farming. So we thought to really engage them in something that they're good at. So some of the boys we see, like when they play their hands in the ground, like they're so good at it that they want to see the fruits of what they do. So that's how we are getting them involved in planting and utilizing the space that's been given.
I see your program also looks at things like leadership, arts, music, social interaction, and cooking. Knowing that everybody, as you said, has different ways of finding out or identifying who they are. How successful do you think the program has been in the past 3 years?
I think for the past 3 years, how successful it is has been just looking back and seeing the child or the children that was being neglected back in school, and they're doing what they are really passionate about. Some of them are in school, some of them are at work, and just seeing them doing that really means a lot, because that's something that we really nurture here. We really try and get them to know who they are, what they're good at, and making them work towards it or step into what they're good at. And I think for me, that's the biggest thing, seeing them doing what they love to do.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I am Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break. About 20 years ago, we had a major drug bust, and you would remember, you would have been part of the operations at Laudala Beach. A lot of people in Fiji did not know what was methamphetamine. And what we are picking up on, people are saying it's readily available. Just the issue in relation to General Secretary, was that a tactical move that he ejected himself from Parliament?
Personally, it's unfortunate.
How are you dealing with those police officers who may be allegedly involved in this?
Vijay, no one is above the law.
We assure you that we will be having police officers around.
As a result of that bad policy, by the end of this month, we would have lost close to about $70 million in government revenue.
Bula Vinaka, I am Vijay Narayan. This is Fiji Village Straight Talk.
Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it live on the Fiji Village Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We are here at the Inspire Pacific Village in Nadroga, where we're talking about the Tanganay program. And in this segment, we are with Ulayasi Vuli. He's 23 years old, earlier at risk, picked up from Nosori, wanted to make a change. First of all, Ulayasi, I know you are from Maduwata. You went to primary school and secondary school in Maduwata. What happened and you ended up in Nosori?
When I ended up in Nosori, my big father just bring me from the village where I stay. When I stay in the village, I was good in drugs. I was a dealer too. And I come from Nosori. I make a effort to change my life from something that I addicted to, from eating marijuana. And that's all.
So you believe that marijuana was changing your life? Why did you start taking marijuana?
I just start taking marijuana because of my peer pressure. In the village, there are so many boys. We are staying together. Like we are vimurumuri tungai. We are vimurumuri balatangan na bulangan itu bana koro na zaka ba koro. Doang anak kaya u leit batomi ketunga meken na kana maron. Senga tuni no tu batu. Na bukungani watu lewa, bukuni dingin au zakau sama ni tarasar kina na marwa.
So Richard, with Ulayasi, we know that, as you said, the boys would want to change, and that's when you're ready to engage. So Ulayasi was one, definitely from taking marijuana, being an addict to being a dealer, then wanting to change, coming to you at risk. What were some of the things that you had to deal with, knowing that you are, for anyone, like we were talking earlier, they're coming in, if they've been taking drugs, there'll be withdrawal symptoms, etc.
I think for Ulayasi, when he started to join the program, there was, because just he was fresh off leaving drugs, we could really find a little bit of the side effects with the Ulayasi. Sometimes we would just see him sitting down and just staring, and we would go to him and affirm him like, you know, it's okay, come, like, and we would help him in those areas when he started to join. But now it's a whole different Ulayasi, and the potential of a leadership calling that he has right now. So he is one of the leaders at this camp right now.
So Ulayasi, as a leader, if you can tell the people of Fiji and around the world watching this, what do you have to do?
As a leader, you have to create a safe space from leading the members or leading the squad or a team. You have to create a safe space, because we going back to the Bible, Jesus was a good leader. Sisue lakumai koe main bulatake nandele ni bura indo anaka nambulangan veluta kiyo na veluta ki sen kaina ki mulai barang-barang mulai baraita ki kono tamatanganga, you have to go down o baraita kana no veluta ki mola kusombu mo me tau batake na numni level ni veluta ki vinaka.
And when you are looking at the boys now, when you have come out of drugs and you are trying to help others, what are you telling the boys?
So nakau watuku ratu verna thorobu na bukungani velutaki na mendra murianga babinaka na instruction na kai solimai mera do hulida na alo ni barrong mero ni ratu na ni mamitoso mera do zaka bata alo bata do ngana kambibi mera velomanichi.
You have a great leader, Richard, in making sure the values that you are trying to instill, and what Ben Morrison, the founder, said, that the young people would be the best people to impart knowledge to fellow young people. How is that coming along with people like Ulayasi helping you in the program?
I think with Ulayasi and the leaders that's really going through the program is just to see from day one and now becoming a leader and seeing the growth that happened in between. I think for Ulayasi is we've really seen the growth and the leadership that he has in areas where he lead the boys. When it comes to farming, he's the first person there, and he's showing them by example He hardly speaks. He don't speak a lot, but you see him when it comes to working. He's always the one that's always pushing and motivating the boys, and that's the I think for me that's the biggest thing, seeing him taking on the leadership task and just working alongside of him is really interesting to see the growth that happen every day.
Well, I see we have a lot of young people, still doing drugs, so they lose their way in life, but they have big dreams. What is your message? What is your big dream, and what is your message to the young people out there?
Na kana nungu tataranga. Miu ndawa langanga takira tu, na vikara lang turuma tu. Me balatana kalau buli kenda mai nanduna inak. Tiko na vikadi bini kalau kina nandambula. Yang mandanga na nungumbula badorobu na bano shati ko kina nikua awasi ngatuni tanda. Tu ngani kalau na nungumbula. Nangona nikua usa membutuhkan membutuhkan tu na VSAVT. Kena kau abuk tu ngana masih kalau iya na VSAVT na vianu usa laku tu rumah tu na do nganaka na pasangani kalau ya kubakau tiaw abuk tu nak.
Richard, with his dreams and aspirations, with him being a peer mentor, what is the next objective for peer mentors like him?
The next step for them is really to see them come back in the next cohort or in the next camp, and to see them really step up and be role models to the next lot that comes in. So I think that's one of the really things that we see for this lot of peer mentors.
You're watching Fijivillage Straight Talk. I'm Vijay, Narayan. We'll be back after this break. About 20 years ago, we had a major drug bust, and you would remember, you would have been part of the operations at Laudala Beach. A lot of people in Fiji did not know what was methamphetamine. And what we are picking up on, people are saying it's readily available. Just the issue in relation to General Secretary, was that a tactical move that he ejected himself from Parliament?
Personally, it's unfortunate.
How are you dealing with those police officers who may be allegedly involved in this?
Vijay, no one is above the law. We assure you that we will be having police officers around.
As a result of that bad policy, by the end of this month, we would have lost close to about $70 million in government revenue.
Bula Vinaka, I am Vijay Narayan. This is Fijivillage Straight Talk.
Fijivillage Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it live on the Fijivillage Facebook page and YouTube channel.
You're watching Fijivillage Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We are here in Namata, in Nadroga, at the Inspire Pacific Village, where we've had these two special shows to showcase to you the Tanganay program, the inspiring work that is being done by Ben Morrison as the founder of Inspire Pacific, and his coordinator at the Inspire Pacific Village, Richard Dier. It's a great privilege to have both of you now in our final segment. I just want to say, Ben, that we know that the situation is quite dire on the ground in terms of young people misguided and have no one to turn to. As far as your work on the ground is concerned, how bad is it?
Thank you, Vijay. I think it's quite evident when we look at the news, the problem that's on the ground, especially when we are looking at a lot of the police cases concerning drugs and all of that. And the reality is there's a big problem, but it's actually worse than we think it is for several reasons. First of all, as any crime, we would say, the data that we have is only that which is reported. So as far as what we see on the ground in terms of statistics, it's only what is being reported. There's a big portion of the issue that is unseen and is not being recognized. And an example is one of the, you could say, connecting issues with drugs is HIV because of the sharing of needles. And so, unfortunately, quite a number of our boys and participants have come through with that issue. It has gone to the place where we have gotten reports where police have done random checks with boys on the street, taking them to do testing, and say a group of 3, all 3 of them would be HIV positive. These are random testings. We think about these boys going back to their community, sharing needles. Now, just as we would share cigarette, you would share suki, in a boy's mind, the needle is the same thing. It's just a needle. And so that perpetuates or enlarges the problem that much more when it's in the community. So the problem is actually bigger than we actually see and actually that we think it is. And so it's very drastic. Now I say that as well. The problem is not just as I mentioned before, the fruit or the evidence in society. The problem connected to some of the roots. And for example, one of the connecting social issues that we see in relation to drugs and all of this is divorce or broken marriages. There's a growing amount of broken marriage. When I say broken, really what I'm referring to is couples who have not been able to maintain a healthy relationship. They've gone their separate ways, and we found that many times the child is affected negatively by this. So we're seeing these other issues that might not be as alarming as, say, a drug issue that are also growing. So there's sort of, you could say, a web of issues that are growing in our society, which I believe we all agree that it's alarming, but the question is, what are we doing about it?
Richard, as the coordinator, when you're getting these young men or boys from the age of 14 up to around 22, 23, some of them would be coming and they're quite broken, right? How are you dealing with that? Knowing that what Ben said, that we have a real situation on the ground and then you're getting these broken young men into your camp.
I think one of the things that we really work with the boys that comes in really broken is just to hear them out and just to hear the brokenness that they carry and just act as like parents to them. More like what we do is on the ground is we affirm them for the good things that they do. We try to really catch every little thing that they do is good, and we affirm them that, yes, you know what, it's good what you just did. And just by doing that, we begin to see them really feel like there's someone care for them, or someone feels that, oh, I'm not cared, but I'm cared here, or someone sees the good thing that I do, because maybe they don't get it from home, maybe because of the parents really not taking time, or broken to see the good things that the child do. But here is, we kind of set this culture of really noticing the good in them rather than the bad, and seeing the good that they do to affirm the good that they normally do all the time.
There's a lot of things being said about parenting and parenting skills. Now, back in the day, parents knew when to act and how to act and what to do to ensure that you parent well. Of course, some never parented well and never communicated well with their children. We hear of some men who said, oh, my father never spoke to me, things like that. In terms of parenting skills, one of the root causes can be that because we're looking at abandonment, rejection, absent fathers present but emotionally absent. majority of the boys I think you're getting are coming from these kind of root causes. What do you have to say based on our observation about parenting in Fiji?
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. I think the first thing I have to mention that anytime we are trying to provide solutions, we need to turn to the data that is evident to first help us diagnose the problem. That's the first thing that we've done is when we look at these boys, when we assess them, when we deal with the issues, we tried not to come at it from a sort of preconceived idea as to, okay, the problem is that everyone from this community, say we're working with a particular community and just label the whole community as being bad. We try to see what is the data, what are the risk areas in the child's life and the systems that he's connected to, the communities he's connected to, where is the problem. And this is pointed, all has pointed in one direction. It's back into the home and specifically back into parenting. And so this is why we say that parenting is one of the roots based on the evidence of the data that we've done over the past 3 to 5 years. Now, when we address that problem of parenting, obviously it's not just parenting in and of itself, because it's obviously contextual, because we're talking about parenting in Fiji. And then even parenting in Fiji, we have a diverse community of people of different ethnicities in Fiji that have different parenting approaches. Now, not all parenting in Fiji is bad. Obviously, there are many who are products of healthy parenting. However, there's a very sad reality that it's sad for me because 100% of our boys come from Itoke communities. So we're realizing that this is an issue that is very high in the Itoke community. I'm not saying that it's not in other communities, but just from our personal
no judgment, no
experience.
generalization.
No judgment.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And based on, again, our data, 100% of our boys have been Itoke boys over the last 3 years. And so it's pointed in that direction. So when we look at Itoke community and we think about parenting in Itoke community, parenting in Itoke community really essentially began with the village setting culture. That was where our parenting knowledge and norms come from. But obviously the reality is we no longer live in a village anymore. Whereas a parent, all they need to teach their child is how to go plant cassava, go to the ocean and come back. We now live in a very different world in Fiji, where what a child needs to do is far more than just planting cassava and going to the ocean. In other words, we're living in a very changing society, especially when you come into the city, you come into the urban areas. And so the challenge with, you could say, Itoke parenting is how do you parent in a way that follows what has been passed on, but also takes in the changes in the new environment, the urban environment, the city environment, where you're dealing with things like social media, where you're dealing with things like drugs, where you're dealing with things like exposure to substance and alcohol and all of these things. So I guess there's a need to adjust and change parenting norms and parenting culture within the Itoke community. And when we look at that, then the responsibility will come down to community leaders. It will come down to community leaders and the way that they are, first of all, see the need for change in the way we parent, and then to be able to educate and to be able to raise awareness to parents that we need to change the way we parent. And even some basic things. And, I'm not saying this to pass judgment on anyone, but one of the common things that we see is neglectful fathers. And sometimes fathers are at home, but they are neglecting their responsibility. And a lot of cases, this has been because a lot of the fathers are engaging in other activities, say like drinking kava. And there's a lot of hours spent drinking kava. And understand, you need your social time, you need your downtime. For whatever reason, people drink kava. But it can't be the majority of your time and take up the responsibility that you have at home, not just to your children, but to your wife, to raise the home. So there's a lot of these things that are happening in our cultural setting, in our Itoke communities, that we need to ask and think and talk about. And it's not just for community leaders. I think just generally for our people, we need to start thinking about, is my parenting abilities, is it up to par with the challenges? Am I equipping my children enough to face those challenges? And what do I need to do to upskill?
It's not just the mother's job to be doing everything as far as parenting is concerned.
Interesting fact, DJ, when we do the research, that children that grow up in single-parent homes, it has been found that children that grow up with single fathers are more likely to be successful than children growing up with single mothers. And that shows that when fathers play their part, children are more successful. So it's not about that it's not just the mother's responsibility. It's actually the father's main responsibility, and his part plays a bigger role in the child's development than the mother does. And what the mothers are doing now are trying to be the net to catch the fall of where fathers are failing. But actually, if we turn that around and if fathers actually became better fathers, imagine the impact that would have on children and their success. So it is a great responsibility that fathers are playing. And so while we're working with these boys, we're not just looking at them as boys. We're seeing them as fathers of tomorrow. How are we changing the culture in our men or young boys who will essentially become fathers?
Richard, you talking about the space at camp that you create where you let the boys be their age, just run around. We saw them playing games and sometimes that what they have never done when they're in their own surroundings. How important is that to create that space for them to be themselves?
Thank you. I think it's really important to create that space, especially here in camp. We see the boys when they're amongst bigger boys, they really pretend to not to be small boys, but more like a hustle kind. But when they are on their own, we really see the kid that's in them. We see the way they run around, like today, the way they were running around, climbing the trees, and some stuff that they will come and talk about that you really know that they're children. And it's really good to see these little boys become, just to have that time to feel that, yeah, I can do this. I can run around, be happy, climb the tree, and do what kids do. Be themselves, yeah.
You have to be a kind, caring, and loving person to be the coordinator, but at the same time, be a disciplined person to ensure that you also have that time that you get things in order in camp. We know you're getting them at that 6 weeks, which is crucial as part of your 14-week program. How do you balance the two to ensure that they really get the value of what they're doing?
Thank you, Vijay. I think for that is really one of the things that we see with these little boys is just the tone that we give towards them. Like if they're doing something which they're not supposed to do, or just really getting close to them and speaking to them like in a way that they would really understand you. Because with these little boys, they are so used to being yelled at in things that they do. But over here, we try to really create that space where we don't yell at them, but we really try to sit them down and ask them, why did you do that? Or what was the reason you went and do? Just to speak really politely, or speak a father, or the way the father speaks to his son.
Ben, very great initiative. We need continuity in terms of the program. We need government, even institutions like the Great Council of Chiefs and E2K Affairs Ministry and others to come on board, even those who have the funds to continue to project this program outwards to many more. based on what we are doing at the moment. Sometimes we're just looking at symptoms and not the roots. For those who are watching out there, including the leaders in various spaces in the community, what is your message to them? What needs to be done? What needs to change to ensure we have a widespread effect that is positive for these young men?
Thank you, Vijay. One of the things that I encourage our team, and I've talked about this and I've learned, is that comfort is the killer of growth. That when you get comfortable in something, it kills the passion and the interest and the desire to grow or change. And so one of the things I believe that we first need to come to the place is we really need to get uncomfortable with some of the situation that we're in. Whether that be government, in the way things are run, whether that be in the community, we need to get uncomfortable with the status quo so that there's some urgency and some real intrinsic desire to make a change. And I think that's the first thing that needs to happen in order for us to see this. And I think it's easier for me because I grew up in a different world in America where you don't see litter on the ground, and we see people accomplishing a lot. Coming to Fiji, it's really uncomfortable to see things not in its place or not as it could be. And so I think that's the first thing, to start to initiate a desire to, okay, how do we then change? What do we need to change? And I think the reason I say that is because many times we will start asking questions and looking at what is the problem, but we will stop at what is comfortable for us. We will stop at whatever is within our budget, or we will stop at whatever I can do given my office hour time, or there's always going to be something that stops us in our path. For us, the only reason this program has really been able to get off the ground with very little support and funding has been we just had this adamant tenacity, you could say. We're not going to let anything stop us from running this program. And we wish we could have more support and more funding, but even if we didn't, we're not stopping. We're moving forward. And so that's sort of been our attitude towards this whole move. But I think that's also helped us to then ask the right questions. And when we ask the right questions, we arrive at the root. And as I've mentioned before, a lot of this root goes back down to parenting and thinking around how we can equip our young people in parenting. And I think this is a question to be asked with the education system. How are there programs within the education system that equip young people in parenting? Are there activities or workshops that that government is taking around that are equipping? I know there's a lot of training happening, but is there training focused on parenting? We see the high statistics in teenage pregnancy, and I think this is one of the statistics that has been raised while we are trying to stop teenage pregnancy from happening. When it does happen, how do we now equip the teenagers who are involved to become parents? Can they become parents? These kind of questions are things we need to be asking so we can be both reactive and proactive at the same time. And so a lot of the awareness really has to, in my opinion, go back to parenting. And I also serve as a pastor in a church. And I understand that the church has one of, if not the greatest reach in terms of community in Fiji, generally speaking. And so there's a great responsibility on the church to ask itself the question, how are we as the church equipping our members to become better parents? Yes, we may be equipping our members to be better churchgoers, perhaps, but I believe that if we saw the life of Christ, he spent 30 years of his life at home before he went 3 years in ministry. And so the first 30 years was a big part of what enabled him to do the 3 years of impact. And where was that? It was at home. A lot of that was at home. And so again, we see the priority at home in the family. And so I believe that there needs to be a lot more investment into the home, a lot more investment into family institution. I think that we need to think about how we are looking at our society as a whole, and are we as a society supporting parenting? I'll give an example. One of the big communities that we have is the old scholar communities. Now, we all know that when old scholar events come, parents many times are not home because there's an event happening. So when you have multiple events that are happening from communities that you engage in that takes you away from your parenting responsibility, we need to ask ourselves the question, is our organization supporting itself at the expense of families? And how can that change? Can our organizations, can our communities engage in community development through family development? Because we all realize that the family is the most important entity in all of society. And so I think there just needs to be a lot more focus on the family unit in whatever capacity, whether you're church, whether you're business. I mean, even as a business, asking, instead of just developing, say, a worker, asking what's happening at his home, what's happening with his family. Obviously, we can't fix everything at home, but we need to start thinking of families and how we are supporting families. And I believe this is going to be an effective way of dealing with some of the social ills that we are facing. As a matter of fact, statistics has shown us that many, if not all of the social ills, go back to dysfunctional homes and families. So if we can help build strong, healthy families, I believe that'll go a long way and it'll be far more effective in dealing with social ills and ultimately developing a more healthy and vibrant community and ultimately nation as a whole.
My final question, first to you, Richard, is from your village perspective here, Inspire Pacific Village, what would be some things that people who are watching or listening where they would like to provide you with some support? What would be that type of support that you would ask for tonight?
Thank you, Vijay. I think in terms of the support is really like volunteers. They could come and really help to nurture these children and to really bring the children up. Is, I think, one of the biggest help we need is people like in the willing heart, volunteer to come and help us out.
And Ben, finally for you, in terms of support, in terms of continuity of the program, we know that talk is cheap. A lot of people talk a lot. It's about getting action going and maintaining consistency. What would you have to say to the people watching out there? What are the levels of support that you need to ensure that this continues to grow?
Thank you, Vijay. Well, obviously, everything requires money, and finance is a big part of that support. And we would really love to see this program reaching not just the 20 boys that we can take on at one time in this facility. We believe that it can expand throughout the nation into all the cities. We are getting requests from a lot of different cities, and we've had to say no because we are limited in our financial abilities. And so, we really would love government to come on board on a bigger scale to support us. And we are grateful for the support that has come so far, but we believe that there's so much more that we can do and so much more that can be done. We believe that there also needs to be more support, especially in the education system. I think there really needs to be a lot more focus on our children's education, and not only in schools, but one of the areas we would love support is for maybe teachers who are retired or those who are interested in teaching. If they could come on board and contact us and become a part of our programs that maybe in their community. We are more than willing to go into communities and help set up programs such as this in communities, but it requires people who are passionate to teach. And maybe not just teaching, but like what Richard had mentioned, volunteers who would like to come and share their time and their energy and obviously resources. We also feel like there's a big support needed in mentoring, and young men who can be mentors for these boys. And that support does not necessarily need to be directed solely towards Inspire Pacific. But even if young men, and not just young men, men in general in Fiji, can start developing an interest at least to begin to ask the question, is there a young man around me or a young boy that I can mentor, that I can journey with and find out where they are and start to do that wherever they are? I think it'll go a long way in helping our young men not just become effective young men, but to become fathers eventually. And if any of this support is needed, we have our Facebook page, Inspire Pacific, where we would love to connect with anyone who is interested or willing to support. We would love to see people with various gifts and abilities come and share their talents and share and inspire our boys in the program. And so we're open to really as much support as possible.
That's Inspire Pacific founder and executive director Ben Morrison and Inspire Pacific Village coordinator Richard Dier. We are signing off from here. Special 2 shows. It was a great pleasure in getting this story out to you for the 2 episodes focusing on the Tanganay program. We wish them all the best, and also the calls that have been made for people to act decisively and support these kind of programs. Until the next show, have a great evening.
See